Habari zenu, karibuni kwa mtandao wangu. Welcome. And for the second time you're going live to see what we can do and what we can talk about today. Karibuni, I'm waiting for you. Well, thank you for coming in. Today the topic is going to be very simple. It's going to be a very simple topic, which I believe every Kenyan should hear, know, and be able to participate. Those people who are here, please participate as much as you can. Let's know your views at the comment section. And today the topic is why the silence? Why silence? Kwa nini kimya namna hii? So I want to start by giving you a short preview of a video that I saw online when a certain law professor entered into a class. And as soon as he entered, the class was ready for the lecture. And the professor went ahead to pick on one student, a lady student, and told her, "You there, what is your name?" And the student very honestly and very calmly said her name. The professor went on to tell her, "I want you to get out of my class, and I don't want to ever again see you in my class." And the student was like apprehensive and just about to start resisting. The professor said, "I'm not going to say that again. Get out." So the student picked her laptop, her belongings, her handbag, and everything, and off she went. And as if nothing had happened, the professor went to start the lecture and asked the remaining students, "Why do we have laws?" And of course, you can imagine the mood in the class was already very dull. They were all confused. They didn't know what to say. When one of them was actually kicked out in a way that looked very unfair. So one student said that we have laws so that we can protect our personal rights. And the professor nodded. Another student went ahead to give the idea that we do have laws because we want to run governments. The seemingly not very impressed professor went to take another answer from another student, the student who said, "We have laws so that we have justice for all." And the professor was like, "Yes. So if it was justice for all, do you think I was justified to kick that student out of my class?" And of course, in unison, the whole class was in agreement. It was not justified, it was not lawful. And then the professor went on to ask, then why didn't you, or why was there nobody who resisted my actions? I was not in order to kick out the student. It was not justified. It was not justice. Why didn't anybody protest? The class was quiet. Why didn't anybody prevent the professor from doing what he did? It's because they were not directly affected by the action of the professor. That's why they kept quiet. But do they think, or do you think that the same thing can happen to you? Is that the time you will react when you're directly affected? Does it matter what happens to your brother or your sister? When something that is not lawful happens to them, you don't have to say anything? Is that the right way? Is that why we have the laws? For you only? For your own selfish existence and not for others? So my question is today, in my country, Kenya, which I love very much, we have seen some things that we ought to have talked about. A lot of injustice, a lot of many things that are against our laws, against our constitution, but we say nothing. Why? Because they do not directly or they do not immediately affect us. But is that the right way? We have chosen or elected, as you might say, we have elected members of parliament, we have senators, we have women representatives, we have governors, we have MCAs. In fact, the bloated Kenyan government system, the bloated because we are so overrepresented that we should not be having any problems. There is no government in the world over that is as bloated as the Kenya government. The Kenyan citizen is the most represented person in the world. We have a bigger government, bigger than the USA government, a small country, African third world country that has so much representation and so much suffering because of not being represented. That is a topic of another day. Let's pose a question here. The other day, the Daily Nation came up with a very big expose to show how even our representation is actually manifest. We found that in Baringo County, we had schools like Kaptione Girls High School, which is only a banner and a gate, nothing else. We have Kampenyasi Secondary School, which is also, again, a gate and a school banner, but there's an address, PO Box, blah, 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 Kabaltojo. We also saw another signpost which had been washed away by the floods of Kasaka Mixed Day School, but the school is non-existent. It's non-existent. Now, upon investigations, these schools have board of governors, and they even have kitties. They have bank accounts where money is sent. And to make the matters worse, for Kaptione Girls High School, it was in the IEBC roster, and some people voted there. There were results from that school, a non-existent school. It had election results. What does that tell you? Do you now need any science to prove how the elections were rigged? Was there anything we could have done? as Kenyans, even when we go to protect our votes after the election, that is a polling station which must have had a returning officer and officers that received salaries to give the result. Are they known? Of course, there must be a record. There must be Form 34, blah, blah, blah. They call them ABCD. Those forms must be there. So somebody must have signed for those results. Is the IBC explaining this? Oh, they are doing the investigations which we have to put for the results. Does the Ministry of Education know about those schools? They are also investigating. Does the controller of budgets or the person who sees the division of money know whether those schools and how much they receive? They are investigating. Everything always ends up with investigations. Are we duped? That's a topic that can take a whole day to discuss. What are the Kenyans saying? Nothing. Do we have lawyers in Kenya? Yes, we do. Do we have legislators in Kenya? Very many of them. Are they saying anything? No, they fear for their lives. And we keep on talking about poverty and good governance, hand in hand. Tutatokelezea wapi? Tutatokelezea wapi? Na sijui niulize kama hii ni bwana. I think I need to speak to Leonard Mambo so that he can give me the rights of asking, je, huu ni bwana? Or maybe, je, hii ni haki? None of those things. Kenyans, let us know how to fight for our rights. We have been wronged, and this is very evident. Let me see on the comment section what you think about this. Let us know what you think about this. How can we have virtual polling stations and we still go to the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court, and still pass that these were credible elections when we had virtual results from non-existing polling stations? When we have schools that do not exist, but they still receive funds from the same government that was elected. Now, why are we poor today? Why are we still very, very, very poor in Kenya? It is because of such things: corruption, overtaxation, and not even actually wanting to know where our money, when we are taxed, where that money goes. Time and again, we have known and we have heard and we have learned and we have gone to school and know that you will never build a country by taxation. There is no country that thrives on taxation only. Yes, we have to pay taxes. But when you overtax businesses, you close them up. So you end up not receiving what you are actually looking for. I saw another documentary which talked about the aids that we've been receiving from other countries. We receive aid. And for us to get the aid, we have to prove that we can pay those loans. And for us to prove that we will pay those loans is only, we have to prove that we are collecting taxes enough to service those loans. So we continue overtaxing. And this gentleman was very clear and very candid to tell us that you will never come out of that poverty. You will never come out of borrowings. Because when you borrow, number one, the money does not do what it was intended for. When we borrow, that money never goes to where it was intended to. We borrow from our pockets. And second thing, we are killing the businesses. We are killing the businesses. In Africa, we have cheap labor, but the many multinational companies that would want to come and invest in our countries will not come, even though we have cheap labor. The overtaxation and the red tape involved will never let them come to invest in our country. So, when you ask, will poverty ever end in Africa? That's a pipe dream. That's a pipe dream. Today I was expecting a visitor who has, at the last minute, turned down because of something out there. And so I'm going to end this program here because I was expecting to speak to, I had not prepared more material to give to you, except to bring to your attention that you, as a Kenyan, you need to fight for your rights when it calls for that. Thank you, and bye-bye.